Hey everybody, we're back. Thank you for listening to The Land Show with Dave and Johnny. I've got Brian Watts in the studio with me today. Brian is the president of the Timber Sales Division for Southeastern Land Group. And Brian, it's appropriate. I got a question this week that needs your expertise, my friend. I was looking at a property with a fella, and he was asking me what are some of the alternatives to planting pine trees. If you don't want to go back just in loblolly or longleaves, what are some hardwoods that you can plant for the future? Well, how would you answer that?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot more people doing that now, as far as just reforestation of pine plantations, particularly the markets that we're in, as far as hardwood and the prices that they bring.
Right.
You know, some management plans are to, once you have a clear cut, just to let it grow back naturally. And you know, a lot of landowners realize that they may not won't see the benefits of that, but their kids and grandkids will. There are also people who want to go back and plant hardwoods.
Right.
There's a cost associated with that, and it's a little bit more time intensive. But you know, we're talking earlier. You know, your white oaks, your cherry bark oaks, different red oak species.
Right.
And you know, poplars. Of course, I think sweet gums grow on the moon. I think they grow
Right.
just about everywhere. But you know, misconception about sweet gums too. I mean, that can be a valuable tree, and without having to do anything.
Right.
You know,
there are a lot of uses, and I was on a place yesterday. I was looking. They went back with 40 acres of cherry bark oak, and that's unusual.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. And then I was on a tract that they had some loblolly and longleaf, and then there was an area that kind of stays wet in the winter, and they planted ash.
Yeah.
Through the center of this tract. I've never really seen that before.
More people are getting more diversified on their planting. You know, there's still a lot of people still planting for pines, slash, longleaf, loblolly, just depending on where you are, depending on what soil types. And that's the thing too. You know, as far as what to plant, you know, I would find out what's your objectives for the property, but also, you know, what do you have a soil capacity to hold? You know, different species require different types of soil types.
Right.
And so having all that is good knowledge before you know kind of which direction to go in.
Yeah, and the USDA website, they have the Web Soil Survey.
Yes,
they have a great free resource for you.
Yeah.
You can check that out. And they have the site indexes. I guess indices may be the word, but they have the site index reports for the various species of trees. And I know this because I always assume it's loblolly, but sometimes I'll forget to take it off of American sycamore, which is their first in the alphabetical list there. And sometimes I'll look at a site report and I'll be like, a 50, and then I look and see it's an American sycamore, and I think, oh, that's, you know, these pine trees are going to grow a lot better than that. So,
absolutely. Well, it's, you know, so many people that, you know, want a good hunting place, and you know, you see a lot of people planting these sawtooth oaks and different various oak species because they, you know, produce acorns earlier and everything. And more and more people, I tell a story as a forester, an older gentleman I used to work with, and his daddy was a forester, and he would tell me the days where they would go and hack and squirt these red and white oak trees.
Right.
And of course now, I mean, the ones you and I couldn't even get our arms around just to plant pine trees, you know, right? You know, that kind of just makes us scratch our head, but that was what their objectives were. And but now, you know, it's hard to find those types of tracks that are loaded in trees like that.
Yeah. Well, it is funny. I have farmers that tell me that in the 80s when the soybean prices were booming, they would have the bulldozer operator come in and just clear huge swaths of hardwoods and just pile them up in windrows just so they could get some beans in the ground. And thinking about that now, that those hardwoods would be worth more than the land.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not just the stinking soybeans, but the actual land. So it's just, you know,
hindsight, right?
That's right. Well, if you had that kind of hindsight, you know, you could be rich and famous for sure. But you know, it is fascinating. There are other alternatives, and people with the depressed prices in some parts of the state, and some, especially in Mississippi, people are looking for alternatives to pine plantations, and there are some good hardwoods, aren't there?
There are, and one thing people need to understand too is your timber is as good as the markets that you have around you. Obviously, there's an aesthetics, and that's a value that you can't really put a value on.
Right.
And hunting, but as far as the other objective, as far as growing trees and having, you know, that revenue at some point, another old guy told me it was, you know, the hard some of the biggest hardwoods are some parts of the areas, but there's no mills to haul it to. So
right.
It's always good to know ahead of time.
Well, I appreciate you being in today. Having Brian Watts with our timber sales division is always handy, and you did a great job filling Dave's chair. He'll probably want to invite you back. And y'all, thank you so much for tuning into the Land Show. If you've missed any of the previous episodes, go to thelandshow.com. Check out the podcast section there. If you have questions like that, what we just asked for Brian, send those to Dave and me at info@thelandshow.com. We'll be happy to get you all of those things. And Brian.